Markets are definitely dancing around all over the place, around the zero, around the break even. Tesla's been up a little bit this morning, and now it's not up as much, but who knows, in 3 seconds, it might be back up again. We'll certainly check all that information later in the show. There's been a couple of reports that came out just in the last few minutes that seem to excite the market, but then earlier, the ADP jobs report seemed to not excite the market that much. Of course, the president had an outstanding speech last night. We'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. Let's take a look now. The final numbers are in for 2024, and the Model Y was the number one selling car in the entire world. Again, officially, yes, with the revamp. I think the 2025 seems to be in the bag. I suspect we'll see a pretty decent increase from last year's numbers with that phenomenal vehicle. Stella Li, Executive Vice President of China's leading electric vehicle maker, BYD, noted that the Chinese automaker is willing to work with Tesla to battle combustion-powered cars or ICE cars. This reporting by Teslarati. The executive's comments came as BYD and Tesla vie for supremacy in the global EV market, with both companies pushing aggressive innovation to capture consumer demands. BYD's executive comment, she says, she was speaking to the Financial Times at the BYD showroom in London. She said that BYD and Tesla would work BYD would work with Tesla to combat ICE vehicles. Our common enemy is the internal combustion engine car. We need to work together to make the industry change, she stated. She also stated that Beijing is more open to sharing innovations with foreign companies, even if there are rising trade tensions in Europe and the United States. The Chinese government is more open, so maybe there's a lot of wrong perception here, she noted. China's EV adoption, she says, Li emphasized the strength of China's EV adoption as a model for the industry. She also expressed some confidence amidst the apparent slowdown in the global EV sector. Yeah, maybe not. BYD and Tesla's efforts to make headway into the EV sector is highlighted by the two competitors' efforts to roll out a dedicated autonomous driving system to its domestic vehicles in China. Last month, BYD announced its God's Eye self-driving system across most of its models in China at no additional cost. She says that they're willing to work with Tesla on that as well. Well, from Goldman Sachs this morning, they have lowered their 12-month price target for Tesla, but it's still 320. They just lowered it from 345. They said they're citing weaker than expected first quarter deliveries and all the stuff we know. The rest of the report was actually sadly not very good, so I didn't bother to bring it to you. This is Randy Kirk, and if you've liked what I've said already, or even if you hadn't, and you just kind of like the show in general, or maybe you just like my non-print shirt this morning, I don't know, for any reason, you could like the just hit the like button, subscribe, hit notify today. We will have a wild lineup because last night I didn't get to do Brian White's show. So I'm going to do that around the noon hour, 12:30 maybe California time. And then later we'll have Jeff Lutz. And then after that, we'll have Brian Wong. So, I mean, that's 3 more shows today. Okay, 4 for the price of 3. Such a deal. So if that's a good deal for you and you think it's worth $3, go on down, hit the description, find the link, and join a Patreon. The folks got it right last night. YouGov took a poll and that said 76% of the public said that Trump was right on. They loved it. They thought he was great. And the CNN did another poll. They did a poll also. They said that 69% of the folks loved what Trump had to say last night. So either the Dems are too dense to get what Trump is trying to do, or they don't want to admit that it's the right thing to do. But what's happening here is Trump is attempting a complete reset of international relations with regard to the economy and a complete rethinking of the way that we resolve disputes, like no more war. The Republicans are also the peace party, with the Democrats only raising to their feet one time in the entire the entire speech last night, and that was when Trump talked about sending more money to the Ukraine for war. That was their only time that they thought something was said that was worthy of their clapping or standing. This is a very weird switch for me as somebody who was in high school and college during all the peace demonstrations. They weren't very peaceful, those peace demonstrations. Anyway, CNBC has this morning. President Donald Trump conceded before a joint session of Congress that his steep new tariffs will cause a little disturbance, but he maintained it was worth it to reap what he promises will be the eventual benefits of his aggressive trade policy. Again, what is Trump trying to do with his trade policy? He's trying to onshore, especially the strategic manufacturing that the United States needs: steel, aluminum, certain food products, et cetera, et cetera. Just go down the line of things that you consider to be strategic. These are the things we need, the chips that are coming in from TSMC. This is going to be partially done by tariffs. He also doesn't want fentanyl coming in the country, and he's using tariffs to get that done. And then finally, he's using it as a way to raise money because that's, tariffs were the only way that the United States raised money until the end of the 19th century. So raising money, and we raise a fair amount of money from tariffs now. You might know, maybe you don't know, that all those tariffs that Trump raised in his first term, none of them got rescinded by Biden. And in fact, he added to those during his term. So tariffs are a fine way to raise money. Now, will they have an impact on inflation? Do you think I've talked about that enough? Inflation isn't caused by tariffs. Price increases, those can be caused by tariffs, and maybe we'll see some small price increases as a result of some of these tariffs. But inflation is caused by, yeah, you got it. Go ahead. Say it. Everybody together now. Inflation is caused by the government printing money and or lack of productivity among the folks. So the rest of the article goes on to say tariffs, quoting Trump last night, tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again. And it's happening, and it will happen quickly. Trump said during the prime time, that was what he said. Yeah, okay. He says, there will be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much, he says. And I think he's right. I think that was proven during his first term. It will be true again this time. And of course, we're waiting until this afternoon to find out what the real story will be with Mexico and Canada. Those are still being negotiated, even 2 days after they went into effect. And I'm expecting that we will see there will be substantially less than the 25% on general goods and 10% on energy. We'll see what happens later today. This from MarketWatch: U.S. businesses created just 77,000 new jobs in January, according to paycheck company ADP. This is a sign the economy could be slowing as businesses weighed on how to respond to President Trump's plan to boost tariffs. It's a very thin analysis there. It has how the jobs market is going has to do with so many more things than with regard to just the tariffs. The increase was the smallest since summer. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast a gain of 148,000 new jobs in ADP's November survey. What is it? I'm sorry. Policy uncertainty and a slowdown in consumer spending might, there we go. That's a little better. It's a little more thorough. Policy uncertainty and a slowdown in consumer spending might have led to layoffs or a slowdown in hiring last month, according to Nella Richardson, chief economist at ADP. Our data, combined with that of other recent indicators, suggest a hiring hesitancy among employers as they assess the economic climate ahead. I think that's wise. I think that's smart. I think that's what we'll see. It also might have to do with government jobs. In February 2025, the S&P Global U.S. Services PMI, new story, by the way, I didn't put a very good pause there. In February, the global U.S. Services PMI fell to 49.7, which was below expectations and marked the first contraction in over 2 years. This was due to a number of factors, including new orders. New orders nearly stagnated, with companies citing political uncertainty and spending cuts. Business optimism decreased to its lowest in 5 months. Employment, companies shed jobs after 2 months of net hiring. Input cost inflation rose to a 4-month high due to tariffs, higher food costs, and wage pressures. And selling prices, however, increased. No, I'm sorry. Let me reread that. However, increased competition led firms to lower their selling charges, their selling prices. Well, that's good. Now, that was the S&P, their analysis, the global U.S. services PMI. But then we have the ISM services coming out on the same day. And listen to this. Business activity index at 54.4 versus 52.9 expected. Okay, completely different reports from the two sources. New orders index at 52.2, employment index at 53.9, supplier deliveries index at 53.4, all of those being good news. The economic activity in the services sector expanded for the eighth consecutive month in February, according to the nation's purchasing and supply executives in the ISM report on business. The services PMI registered 53.5, indicating expansion for the 54th time in 57 months since the recovery from coronavirus. So, in other words, the services area seems to be doing fine, although we saw a little slump. Now it seems to be back, depending on which PMI survey you believe, which both went in different directions. Anyway, we had this breaking news just before I came on. New orders for manufactured goods in January were what? Up, following two consecutive monthly decreases. They increased 9.8 billion or 1.7%, which was expected, by the way. This followed a 0.6% December decrease. Shipments were up three consecutive months, increased shipments were up three consecutive months in a row, up 0.4%. This followed a 0.6% December increase. Unfilled orders were up 6 of the last 7 months. That's good news. And then the unfilled orders to shipments ratio was 6.85. That was down a bit from 6.93, not very much. And then inventories were up 3 consecutive months. And this followed, and then inventory to shipments ratio was unchanged. So pretty good news on the manufacturing front. So you can see where the market might be a little confused about what to do this morning, because you've got ADP coming in light. You've got the one services index coming in light. You've got the other services index coming in strong, and manufacturing, which we've been looking for to do something better than what it's been doing, coming in pretty strong. So what has the market done with all of that news? Well, right now it's still sitting at about zero. So we've got the Dow Jones up 0.18%, and the NASDAQ down 0.17%, and the S&P down 0.10%. So you can see we're pretty darn close to zero in all those. Now, those have come down. They had all been up, and now they're back to around zero. Tesla, which had been up even as we started the show, we were up a buck or two, is now down 0.45% or $1.24. Again, everything trading in a very, very narrow pattern. For some reason, Apple is down this morning. I did see a headline on that, down $4.86. The Magnificent Seven is split. NVIDIA down a little bit. Everybody, whether they're up or down, it's very small percentages at this point this morning. The Cathie Woods also mixed, although a little more red than green. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds. Now, the bonds, of course, are supposed to be going down if they think if they think business is slow, and going up if they think business is too hot. And of course, you just got mixed reports. So how have the bonds ended up taking all this morning? Well, they thought that on balance, that these were good results. I mean, economically good, not good for having a bond rally. So the 10-year up 2.5 basis points, but we're still under 4.25. That's good at 4.23. The 2-month is down a little bit, actually, a full basis point at 4.314, and the 2-year down 2.5 basis points. So the shorts this morning actually having more of a rally than the 10-year. Interesting. All right, let's go on to oil, which is down strongly this morning at $2.17 off on Texas Intermediate. We're at 66 bucks now, so we've kind of broken below that resistance. As you heard, if you listened last night, and a huge number of you did, even though it was interfered by the speech, you still came back and listened to, for some of you, your favorite of the week every week, is Nicholas Gibbs. Anyway, Nicholas believes we're going to $60. Well, we're at 66, so we're not far off of that. Brent is at 69. The $3 spread now is about normal. And natural gas is sitting at barely moving this morning, 0.05 up. Gold, continuing slowly but surely this time to move up, is at 2,927, up $6 this morning, and silver's up 1.91% at 33, just a buck away from that kind of break point at 34, which we have not broken through in a very long time. Copper up 5.53% this morning. What's going on with copper? And it's just continuing to go up even as I watch. We're sitting at $4.80. So what is going on with copper? The dollar is mixed depending on the currency this morning, and Bitcoin is up barely 187. It's 0.21% at 88,000. All right. So that is where we're sitting on the various items in the market this morning. We'll take another look at Tesla in a second. Please remember this big day. We got 4 shows today. So you've just watched one. Come on back for Brian White around the noon hour. Come back for Jeff Lutz, probably around 4-ish, 4:30. And then finally, at the end of the day, Brian Wong, and he's already working on that show. We talked about it last night. I know what he's going to be talking about, and you are not going to want to miss it. Well, in fact, the Brian White show is going to be pretty amazing too, because we're going to talk about what are the things that are impacting Tesla's stock right now. We have a list of 18 things Brian and I are going to talk about that might be causing the stock to go up or down right now. So you don't want to miss that. And then, of course, you could always join Patreon. That'd be great. Last night was the late. That's right. There was no late show last night. So I'm just going to encourage you to, if you didn't watch it, to go back and watch Nicholas Gibbs. I'll put that card up right here. It was a phenomenal show. That Nicholas Gibbs is he's getting more and more people that are excited about what he has to say. So Tesla right now, it's every time I look at it, it's jumping 50 cents, 60 cents, but within a very narrow range. So right now, at this exact minute, down 90 cents, but it is just as could easily in 2 seconds be up 5 cents or up $1 or down $2. I mean, it's just really doing like a little squiggle right now. All right. In fact, see right now, already down 64 instead of 90. I mean, it's just crazy how fast it's changing. That's all I've got for you right now. Were you hoping for more? I'll try to give you more tomorrow morning. It's been great talking to you.